Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin,
I'm Josh.
And I'm Hunter.
and as you can see, other people in our group have lives apparently. So,
What a concept.
yeah, I know, crazy. No,
Disgusting.
So it is just going to be the three of us, but that's okay because this episode was a lot, and the new episode of The Mandalorian was also a lot too. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yes, and don't worry, we will definitely get all of your guys' thoughts. I saw Josh was watching our live stream earlier too. So yeah, so let us break it down. First off, let's talk about our overall thoughts about this episode. Like, what was your guys' actual mindsets of going into the episode? Did you think it was going to be about Crosshair, or did you think it was going to be another side mission?
I mean, I've been hoping this whole season that we're going to get more episodes from Crosshair, but I was kind of just like along for the ride. I was like, all right, we're going to get something and it's going to be fun regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that it would be something impactful to the overall theme and story of the season. And we definitely got that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was thinking like timeline wise, I was like, okay, last week I knew for sure it was going to be some form of like Imperial perspective episode. It was less than I expected. We still had it. So I honestly was expecting this to be like the last Bad Batch side mission episode of everything. So it was a nice surprise to have Crosshair. I know there was a lot of like people speculating about Delta Squad, and as much as I would have loved it, in my heart of hearts, I knew it wasn't going to happen now. Like they got if it's going to happen, if we're going to get the introduction of Delta Squad, it's going to happen so much closer to the finale, or like teasing it for third season. It's not going to be now.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean, I did not expect a Crosshair episode, to be completely honest, and I was really happy that we got one.
I feel bad for Star and Cap because they're not here this week to just fully freak out. Yeah,
Star would just
be
gushing.
Yeah,
we could just sit back and let Star talk for 2 hours, and that'd be.
You just have her record a nice long monologue, and you can splice it into the middle of the podcast.
Yes,
she has lots of thoughts to say.
Yeah. So this episode is called The Outpost. I know the other Josh and I were really hoping it was going to be Black Spire Outpost. We were very wrong, but it's always nice to dream. And the opening of it takes place on Coruscant. We see as the new stormtroopers are coming in, we have the clone troopers coming out, and they're retiring. There is one clone that is complaining about he doesn't really want to retire yet. He wants to go and fight some of the insurgents. How do we feel about that?
This is only the start of the episode, but I think this whole episode was super, super heavy as far as symbolism is concerned. And I'm not usually like a symbolism guide, like high school English class.
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe the walls are just this color because the author liked that color. But this episode definitely, I think, really, really hit that home with the stormtroopers going in, the clones coming out, everything that the clones are doing on did they even say the planet the outpost was on?
No, I think it's Vandor though, from Solo. I hope it's
okay. But I mean, regardless, everything with the clones being there and protecting new TK armor there, as soon as they land, there's vultures flying overhead of the clones. You get the picture, and it's a lot of symbolism and a lot of growth for Crosshair and a lot of them showing the situation of the clones.
Yeah.
Later when we get to the part of the episode where there's the avalanche, there's one visual metaphor I really, really liked, and I want to talk about it. But I mean, as just for the opening shot, is this the first time we've seen this part of the Geonosis Memorial in daytime lighting? Because I remember seeing it at night early in the Bad Batch. I remember it was raining when Ahsoka was running through. I don't ever remember seeing this section of the Republic.
I think you're right.
On Coruscant.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting to me how why the Republic always was in the dark, but now that it's the Empire and the clones are leaving, it's like it's almost shining a light on this section. I don't really know why they chose to do that. If anything,
Well,
hiding the clones being kicked out more than anything.
something you also have to kind of consider is that it's just like with Camino. There were episodes where we were surprised to see when it wasn't raining, and we were all just like, "Wait, what?" But for Coruscant, to me, it was a matter of time before they would show like certain sections of the planet during the day.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm glad that that we're kind of seeing that transition, like finally, of the Empire to the clones. As sad as it is, I'm excited because that means we're getting closer to see them transition into the original TK armor. And that is where I want to see that, like, of them go and do that by the end of this season. That's my hope.
Yeah, either by the end of the season or the end of the series. I think it'd be really cool. And we know they have awesome models for it from the end of Clone Wars. And I think it'd be super cool to see
the snowtroopers in Clone Wars.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I live for those designs.
Even the TKs, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember that scene and just seeing the TKs and the snowtroopers and a bunch of the different stuff from the Empire and the Clone Wars format, like in the animation, was beautiful. And I just sat there and like, why didn't we get this for Star Wars Rebels? Like, why was Rebels not Clone Wars animation? But I still appreciate Rebels. Don't get me wrong, but I wish it was in the Clone Wars animation because it was so cool. But we see Crosshair just kind of observing everything, and then we see him meet a new lieutenant. His name is Lieutenant Nolan. Sounds like he's really never seen battle, and he just acts like he's more superior, and
just immediate hatred and loathing for this character.
Yeah.
He just
immediately
talks and acts, and like everything about him is just like, you're a jerk. I know we don't swear on this podcast, but I would like to swear in describing this guy.
Like, he opens with "You're out of uniform," and Crosshair's like, "Okay," puts on his helmet, and he's like, "And now you're in uniform. Was that so hard?" It's like he already did almost everything else there. Like, it's such a small, minute thing. He's just trying to find things to be.
And something else in this episode is we actually see a lot of similarities to what veterans of our society deal with today. And then we also kind of see, a lot of things that did happen in war, where you would definitely have, these new ranking officers higher than everyone, but they've never experienced anything, and they would come in and they would just act cocky and try and prove themselves because they were power hungry and everything. And we definitely see that in this episode a lot with Lieutenant Nolan, and Crosshair kind of gets his perspective on what the Empire really is. And we also know right off the bat that Lieutenant Nolan doesn't like clones. Like, he's like, they are used up. I don't like used tools. Something in the lines of that. And I was like, dang, he's not holding back at all. Do we think that he knows that Crosshair is technically a clone?
Yeah, I mean, he opens with calling him by his clone identification number.
Yeah.
So, almost for sure.
The reason why I was saying that was because he was just full out like insulting the clones right in front of Crosshair. Like, Crosshair wasn't a clone, and I was like, man,
I think he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mix doesn't care.
And
also, Crosshair's so separated from the rest of the clones. Like, from what we saw earlier in the season, like, he eats alone in the corner. He's like a kid that got left behind at a place.
I think that's a really interesting thing too, because the one other episode that we saw Crosshair in brought him back closer to the clones, and now in this episode we see more of that too. With Mayday, just like he's kind of just immediately buddies with Crosshair, which I thought was like cool. It shows that camaraderie. And I think it's obviously I don't know if we want to wait and talk about the ending at the end of the podcast, but this whole episode is Crosshair's transition back into like clone mode, if
Yeah.
you could call it, or at least that's how I viewed a lot of what happened to him, like as
Yeah.
far as his personal struggles go.
Yeah, no, I thought his journey from, I mean, yes, again, it sucks that we haven't got that much of him this season. This is the second episode that we've gone across there this entire season. But I feel like every time that Crosshair has appeared on screen this season, he's made such an impact on the story, and that and you like kind of see him kind of tracking back and being like, I may have made a mistake of leaving my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the biggest like issue is not admitting that you were in the wrong. And I think he's gonna, slowly see that he was in the future episodes. And again, we'll talk about the ending. But we see that we see them go to the planet. We have him meet Mayday. Josh, you said this is the same that you're thinking this is the same planet from Solo.
I think it's Vandor, mainly
Okay.
because we know Vandor had an Imperial outpost on it for storing coaxium and lots of other valuable things for the Empire. And also, it's a very snowy, mountainous planet region. That's
there's no
real
other snowy,
connection.
mountainous planets in Star Wars.
Well,
with big, ginormous mountains is like the primary landscape.
Yes.
So
I'm just messing with you.
Do you guys remember from the original Star Wars Battlefront? There was the planet Renvar. Yeah.
So that showed up. That was from the original Clone Wars game. The tie-in for the movies. I played the heck out of that game.
I loved that game. I also love the I just love that planet because yes, it was snowy, but it was also foggy. So when you would go on through, like you would not see like the giant tanks coming on through, and you would have to like try and hide and stuff. Yeah, and the caves are really cool too. And I don't think it's canon anymore, but I would love to see that.
What's the planet's name?
It's called
Renvar.
It's called Renvar. It was first seen in Star Wars Battlefront, right? And then it made it. Oh, so it was in the Clone Wars game.
Yeah, the Clone Wars game came out before Battlefront.
Right. Yeah, because of the original Battlefront came out in 2002.
Yeah, and did it actually show up first in Starfighter or Jedi Outcast or one? I think it might have shown up in one other game before Clone Wars.
I think you're right.
In Legends, Renvar appeared in lots of things. Apparently, it appeared in Tales of the Jedi, Old Republic, a lot of Old Republic stuff. Battlefront, Battlefront 2.
Do we know if it was like the Tales of the Jedi show? Or
no, sorry.
Was it...
It's an old Tales of the Jedi Redemption comic book. In canon, which it does still have appearances in canon. It was in the Ultimate Star Wars book, Build the Millennium Falcon 21, the visual guide, the Force Awakens beginner guide, helmet collection, and then the First Order Star Wars encyclopedia. So it's only been in text in current canon, but it is
okay, interesting. All right, well, cool. Well, yeah, well, I just thought of that planet as soon as as soon as we got there, because I love playing that in
I just thought the mountains looked cool.
and now we're here. But yeah, so we meet the clone Mayday. He doesn't look like your traditional clone. He's got wrappings on his armor. He's got a full out beard. He has an attitude, and he does not care. And he definitely sticks it to Nolan, because of Lieutenant Nolan was trying to, tell him like, hey, I'm your lieutenant, I rank you. And then he's like, I'm your commander. And then he's like, oh, but in reality, we know that at this point, all the people in the Empire definitely outrank any of the commanding officers of the clones. And even though no one wants to admit it, that's definitely how it's coming off. But
one other thing I want to point out about the lieutenant too, that I think is an interesting, like, ironic visual choice. His helmet is actually the top half to a snow clone helmet
yeah,
that we saw in Order of Plutonia at the beginning, like the cool outfit Rex had and stuff. That's
Yep.
just the top half of that.
Yeah,
And
it even had
has,
like the same paint.
markings.
Yeah. Also, whenever they're walking outside, like you can see the direction the snow is moving, and you see snow accumulating on their armor on the
Dude,
side that's like blowing
The
from.
animation's so good.
It was animation was clean.
And we say this every week, but it's
Yeah.
just amazing. The
new
wide
technology
shots.
and oh,
The wide shots now are surpassing matte painting level
yeah,
into like photoreal computer generated almost.
there's
Okay.
some shots where like when it's just the landscape and you're like, is Bad Batch live action now? Like
Yeah.
did they just
Yes.
like
Right. That's
hit in
what
the
I
head
think.
and now it's a live action show?
Yeah.
yeah, that happens a lot. Like I just remember the episode of where, I mean, I guess I consider it the Indiana Jones episode, but of where they're landing like on the planet, that all looks live action to me. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like as soon as they step out of the ship, then you're like, oh, it's animation. But before that, that looked like live
Yeah.
action, and I was blown away. So
Yeah.
the animation's come a long way. And I actually just started re-watching the Clone Wars in chronological order, and I think the worst animated episode was the one where R2 gets lost and they have to go find him. I think to me that was probably like the lowest
Wait, which
quality.
The one
It
where
was
he
the
fights
first one.
Goldie?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I love those stories, but I think that one was probably like the lowest for the animation. And honestly, it's just come a long way. Like
It's incredible.
it's
And
crazy.
even like comparing the Clone Wars snow episode and seeing how the snow reacted to the characters
Yeah.
just in that single episode to now seeing how the growth of just the particle effects and how the snow reacts to these characters moving through it. So stellar to see.
Yeah. But yeah, we then get the task from Lieutenant Croy, of them talking about like, hey, we like have to defend this area because they've been breaking in, and then all of a sudden they when Crosshair's kind of out like on a scouting mission and everything, you like hear them getting attacked. 2 clones get killed, and then he goes up in his tower and he's trying to snipe and everything, and then we see the explosion which blows up the ship that they came in, but also it has him taking off his helmet because the light has really messed with his senses, and he's got I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Like his like mutation is like his eyesight. Like he's got strong eyesight.
Yeah, I mean, it almost to me seems like they're hinting at him having something like PTSD.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing for Camino.
Yeah, right. And you already kind of hinted at some of the stuff in this episode being similar to real life situations with veterans, and this is another thing I think that makes the struggle of the clones feel really real and visceral, and it highlights their human aspect even more than we've been getting before this.
Yeah, it's super sad, and it's also crazy to me. I mean, all right, so how do you like it when they have like, here's Star Wars, it's a galaxy far, far away, but then they have like those real life themes where you're like, oh wait, I can, see it as also this. How do you feel about them kind of mixing Star Wars with the real life themes?
I think it's kind of a unique thing, at least for me, and the way I feel about Star Wars. Star Wars has always felt very real, partially because of the way they portray the world as this real and lived in universe. So in my mind when I'm watching like episodes of the TV shows or the movies or anything like that. Like it makes sense when people behave like real life or events kind of follow the same cause and effect type relationship as they would in like the real world, because Star Wars has always felt like it has a real lived in type vibe, if that makes sense.
No, I completely agree. Josh?
I mean, almost to me, all Star Wars content, all Star Wars media, from books, the podcasts they used to do in like the 80s to the video games, everything just builds out the world that was created in 1977. Like everything builds out and it just is to expand on the lore that was presented there. So seeing, that lived in world that Hunter was talking about, it builds all that out, and having these kind of more personal topics, I guess, like these human topics that are discussed commonly in the modern day, seeing them reflected here and how they're dealt with in this more fictional reality, kind of it helps reflect and lets us think about how we look at the world around us as well. So I mean, I'm a big fan of fiction and media reflecting the world, and it gives another perspective and another viewpoint that we might not have ever considered before.
Yeah. It's and I think that is I think that's also the beauty of Star Wars 2 is that yes, it's sci-fi and all that stuff, but it's something that we can also relate to. There's so many of those real life themes. But getting back into the and into the episode, we have them go track down one of the people that he sniped, that Crosshair sniped, and they are trying to find two of the crates that Lieutenant Nolan has tasked them to find, which we also know that they had the option of waiting until the next day, because then they could have had more reinforcements. But it sounded like Nolan wanted to get rid of every single clone. And I don't know if that was a side mission. I don't know if that was a secret task. But you could definitely tell that was his main objective of being like, I might not do it, but some way all these clones have to go. So he knew it was going to be a suicide mission.
I took it as just the selfishness of the Empire coming through and not caring what happens to these other troopers.
Yeah. And we have them go in the cave, and then they find the guy, they keep on walking, and then you have Crosshair step on a trip mine. Now we haven't seen these trip mines in any of the shows yet, but I think it looks very similar to the trip mine that they have in the new Star Wars Battlefront 2 that came out a couple of years back, because that's definitely one of the type of second weapons that you can use. I think the first thing that popped in my head when he did step on the trip mine was the scene from have we seen the Kingsman movies?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing that popped in my head was when the character Merlin stepped on the trip mine. I was like, oh no. I was like, man.
I'm glad we didn't have to listen to Crosshair sing Country Roads.
Almost heaven.
Of what I would have given to hear Dean Bradley Baker sing.
Oh no. Oh man, but
great.
But yeah, so we have Crosshair kind of low key panicking, but at the same time he's like, okay, and then you have Mayday. He's like, oh man, here's some action. This is fun. So he then kind of does he has these small pins. He pins down the mine, and he kind of talks to Crosshair, about what he did during the war, and he then wants to know what force he served, and he talks about the Bad Batch by saying oh, it was close to Force 99, and then he asks, hey, what happened to him, and just instantly was just they're gone, and he didn't talk about it. He's probably been trying to kind of hold that back. He's been trying to keep it down, and because, you know, in a way, which we kind of find out later, is that he's been suppressing a lot of these emotions, and I think he's been in denial for a very long time.
Yeah, he almost pauses when Mayday asks him, "Hey, what happened to them?" He kind of, there's that blank stare, and you can tell there's something going on in his head, and then he says,
"Yeah,
they're gone." And Mayday clearly just assumes that they're like dead, because he's like, "Oh, we're the survivors," but obviously there's more there, and we see as the episode progresses that Crosshair's having a lot of internal struggles, and things are changing.
I also really liked the kind of Chekhov's discussion of Crosshair saying, you know, the dead body is just dead weight. You know, even if they're brothers, they're dead weight. Don't carry them around. And that, of course, you know, pays off with the theme of the episode. But it was fun to see that discussion. It's fun to see that play out. I also just completely forgot that Crosshair knows that Bad Batch is alive. I completely forgot about that.
Wait. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah,
No.
I know. Didn't do my homework.
Crazy.
Like he's been keeping that secret for a long time, and it almost reminds me. He's reminding me of Darman from the Imperial Commando book.
Yeah,
when Darman knows of all of his brothers and his true family is off on Mandalore. They're safe, you know, enjoying their life, and he's still fighting within the cog of the machine, hoping that there's something there for him that he can do. Repressing those memories, anything and everything. So Crosshair right now is really reminding me of Darman's evolution in that book and what it would have become if Karen Traviss if she got to continue the series. But alas.
There you go.
Alas.
Yeah.
Alas, Ewoks. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. I was thinking but yeah, we have them go to the kind of hideout area of where all the thugs have stolen the precious cargo, and they infiltrate the base. They go in. Crosshair does his Crosshair stuff. He's like sniping, he's shooting, he's, you know, pew pew, you know, all that fun stuff. And we, you know, have, so that whole fight scene, how do we feel about it? Good? Yes?
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I know.
I think they were just putting in as many enemies as possible to highlight that, oh, they're screwed. But I was like, whoa, how are they going to get out of this? And then Crosshair does his thing like he always does. And
so
the day, but
so from this fight scene with Crosshair compared to the one in episode 3 where he's with Commander Cody, which one do you rank higher? I definitely rank the one with Commander Cody, not just because he's in it, but just because that was like a whole Clone Wars kind of flashback thing for me, because like I just love seeing droids get blown up.
I guess, are you asking how, like, rank it as far as like just
like an action scene,
or like action scene in general?
Action scene in general. Yeah.
I think I'd still go with the Cody one, because it's a really interesting close quarters fight, especially when they're going up that stairwell.
Yeah.
And there's like, I mean, I hesitate to use the word choreographed because it wasn't performance capture or like actual acting, but I don't know. It felt like there was a lot more going on, and it felt a lot like how the Bad Batch used to act as a unit, if that makes sense. I think that's where all the Bad Batch members really shine.
Yeah, I have to agree. I like that scene more. I think that scene has better visual acuity for the audience to understand the area that they're in during the duration of the fight. It has a variance of locations that the fights are happening in. I found it much more visually interesting to see that one than this one. This is still fun. This is really fun. This felt like a video game where it's like endless spawns waiting for you to find like the Chekhov's gun that you had to do. But I felt that this one was just kind of, it was inserted action, and yeah, it worked, but it was much more visually fun, and it's easier to understand and see the action in the Cody fight.
Yeah. The fight scene ends with them throwing a couple of thermals, and the kind of base collapses, and they definitely have the crates come out, and they find out that the crates are just some of the new Stormtrooper armor.
I loved this.
Yeah.
So much, mainly because I mean, not only do we get to see like they get to see this armor, and Crosshair's seen this armor before. I'm pretty sure he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially during the Cody episode. But like, so he knows what this is. He knows what this is
Just
about, but not a
earlier
lot of-
this episode.
Yeah. So like he knows this is going on. He knows this is happening, but Mayhem might not. You know?
No.
So you get to see that reaction, and also when the avalanche starts, and then you see like Crosshair looks down at the Stormtrooper helmet in the snow, and the snow starts to like part on the visor, like the eyes are widening, like the eyes are opening to what's actually happening. I saw that as a direct correlation to what Crosshair's feeling at that time, with the eyes really like widening open and seeing what's happening.
Yeah. Again, there was a lot of great things in this episode, but there was also a lot of sadness, a lot of conflict, and I think a lot of eye-opening scenes for Crosshair. And I love like that this was definitely like a Crosshair episode, and of him just kind of realizing just everything, you know, that has happened, and he's slowly coming back to his senses. The only thing that I'm afraid of is that, yes, you know, there will probably be some redemption, but as the redemption happens, I'm really hoping it doesn't happen, but I could see Crosshair like getting killed, like kind of being part of that redemption arc, because that's what usually happens with characters, you know, that that have had a very like sad like tale and a very like bad thing, and then like something great is happening for them, all of a sudden they get, you know, stabbed in the back, or they get shot, or just some sad death. And I can just see that happening to Crosshair, and it's going to be really, really sad. And I know Star is going to be very sad. If that
It's almost good that Star's not here now.
Yeah, I
because we're
know,
talking
I
about
know.
his death.
She would be yelling at me, but yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no,
I could see it going that route.
Yeah.
I could see it going the same route for other characters in the batch. I'm gonna be honest, like I don't expect any happy endings in Star Wars animated shows anymore, just because of the way Dave has treated us in the past.
Yeah.
Like something's gonna hurt.
Well,
something's gonna hurt, and I hope it like it fits that it's gonna. I hope it's not just like it feels like the deaths. If there are deaths, I feel like the negative consequences feel earned, and they feel like natural in the story. Or if they are taken it like, you know, by a snipe bullet or something, and it's very sudden, it still feels natural to the story. Like it's gonna fit there, rather than just saying, "Oh, guys, it's like season 5. We probably should start killing people off now."
Well, that's honestly what the Clone Wars was, because we really knew like of what was going to happen. Like all the way at the end of the Clone Wars, Order 66 was going to happen. So I wasn't worried about Anakin or Obi-Wan or any of the main characters that we see in the films, but it still hurt of getting all the way there. And just, I just remember everything happening with Order 66. If you haven't seen Clone Wars, spoiler alert, but I really hope you have. If you're listening,
if you're listening to the Star Wars Stuff podcast,
I would really hope
the Clone Wars.
Right?
What are you doing here?
But just seeing the Order 66 episode, and then Rex just bursting into tears and being like, "Fives, find him, Fives," and then he just starts like shooting. I just remember my wife and I were sitting there, and I was just tearing up. I was like, "This sucks. This sucks so much."
Dude, you already know I cried.
Yeah, dude.
Like
oh my
3 years
god.
ago, right? Like it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Since that, really? Somehow.
That was so emotional. That was one of the most emotional things. And I mean, I'm still like kind of getting emotional about it, because I just of just the mention of Fives and in that scene, and then just seeing like Rex trying to fight back the inhibitor chip.
Yeah, there's so much impact.
Yeah,
there's so much meaning behind everything that he says, and every like little shake that he has when he's trying to fight raising.
It's
his
so
daughter.
sad. It's so sad. And that just shows you, you know, how great of a director and writer Dave Filoni is. Because even though we knew what was going to happen, we just didn't know how it was going to happen, and it still worked on the level of emotion that we got. And that's what's probably going to happen, unfortunately, with some of the Bad Batch, because as you all know, that we don't see the Bad Batch with Rex when he's in exile. And maybe one reason why he goes into exile is because he watches a lot of his brothers die during some type of rebellion battle of where they rally the clones, and he just watches, you know, maybe Echo get shot, and he watches Commander Cody and just tallies up. And I know, but it like
can't watch The Last Domino fall.
No. Yeah.
I will say, when we first saw Mayday, before I realized he actually had his other eye and he said it's Commander, I thought that was going to be Wolf.
Yes, I did too.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the Wolf introduction.
I just didn't see his
I
eye,
had a
so-
split second of like hyper excitement. I was like, yes, it's him. And then I was like, oh, it's just another cool clone. I'm still excited, but just not as excited.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that we'll probably see Wolf probably the next time that we see Cody. And I mean, well, probably the next time we see Rex. I'm hoping Cody is with Rex. But again, we don't know what happens to Cody. He's probably gonna bite the dust. Very, very sad to say. This is a really, really sad episode. I'm so sorry, guys. But going back to the actual episode, there's an avalanche. Mayday pushes Crosshair away. The snow covers everyone. And then you see, you know, Crosshair kind of crawl out of the snow. He finds Mayday. He's badly injured, and he tells Crosshair to leave him. And it looks like Crosshair was thinking about it, but then he's like, nope. He saved my life. I got to save his. And then I think he's also like, you know, he's also getting to that point, like slowly, like before we get to the very end, of where he's like, you know, this is the right thing to do. This is what soldiers do. In a way, he is my brother, even though he's not, you know, part of Clone Force 99.
Yeah.
And he drags him through the snow for miles, like miles and miles. How did we feel about him kind of saving him?
I thought it was
leaving him
awesome that he had that much dedication, and like he knew that's what he had to do, and he stuck with that. And that's not something that I think Crosshair would have done last season or even at the beginning of this season. And that to me also shows his progression. And I thought it's like it again, I think I've said it like 4 times now this episode, but it shows Crosshair's transformation back into like, I'm a clone. I'm not a soldier of the Empire.
Yeah.
I was also really surprised that he didn't get frostbite at all.
Yeah.
Wait, are you telling me that you're trying to put logic into Star Wars again?
No.
I got in trouble with it. I don't even think Crosshair would have done it in like season 7 of the Clone Wars. Like the guy who was so adamant that they don't usually work with regs. Like absolute detestation,
That's
even
true.
for Cody at that point in time. He was just very against it. And we saw him save his life. I can't even stand like waiting for a bus in a snowstorm for like 10 minutes without being like, all right, I'm not even going to class today. It's not worth it. So that dedication is more than admirable.
I'm the opposite. I love the cold, right? And there's been definitely days here where I show up and I'm wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt, and then everyone else coming into work is wearing like a winter jacket. And I'm and they're like, dude. They're like, dude, what's your problem, man?
Hey,
and
I
I'm
love
just
the
like,
cold
what?
too, but I don't like snow pelting me in the face.
The power of Michiganders.
Yes. Strong. Pure
Be
Michigan. Yeah.
I like the cold, but you guys are a different breed.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. We then follow them all the way back to the base, and when they get back to the base, they see that they didn't even send out a rescue party. They're putting in all of the new armor and into the ships, and Lieutenant Nolan walks over and he's like, "Wow, you guys finally showed up!" And Crosshair's like, he needs help. He needs medical condition. This was the very last straw for Crosshair. He was hoping that for all that he's done for the Empire, that the Empire would help him here. And Lieutenant Nolan sealed his fate by saying, no, it's his time to die. He served his purpose. And then you see him die. You see him pass away from his injuries. So I don't think it was going to really help, like, with the team coming in anyways. Like to come in and try and save him with medical supplies. But you see this spark in Crosshair, just kind of these gears turn, and then you just kind of see him snap, and then you see him just like he's tired. He's tired of serving the Empire because he feels like he's done a lot for it and he has nothing to show for it. And they keep treating him like crap. And I think that was the breaking point. And then you see him shoot Lieutenant Nolan.
Yeah. That was a super, super intense scene. Like, and even me watching it, probably just because I care about the clones so much, feeling this like seething rage at the lieutenant, being like, okay, you don't talk about clones that way. And obviously Crosshair felt the same way. And he got up, just single shot down, and that's all Crosshair had energy for. And it's, again, like, it's something else that I think it shows how motivated he is now by this transformation to be like, okay, the Empire is wrong. Like, that got him up from collapsing on the ground. And that was like all the energy he had, he dumped into standing up for his fallen brother. And that was really meaningful, I thought.
Yeah. Again, there was a lot of sadness in this episode. But I think it was definitely necessary for Crosshair's growth as a character. And then you see him like kind of use all of his strength to, shoot him down, and then you see him collapse, and then the stormtroopers come over, and the screen goes black. He then wakes up, which I think we all suspect that he's back at Mount Tantus. Yeah. And they are, going to do some more cloning experiences on him. Do you think that we'll find out that he never took out his chip? Or do you think that they did and they're just going to put in a new one?
I don't know. With the way he acted in this episode, I'm almost starting to believe Crosshair that he had the chip taken out.
Okay. Josh?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm expecting like a fact. I think the way to make it hurt the most would be that the lady who stood next to Scorch last week, amazingly, is just gonna like factory reset Crosshair in some way, either with the drugs or a new chip or empowering a chip if he never got it removed, whatever that may be. I think it hurt the most to see like have this entire episode of building, of showing Crosshair like finally breaking free of the hold the Empire's had on his mentality. And then she's like, let's just restart the computer and we're back to normal.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's, I mean, I could see them doing a thing where like if they do that and they do run into and when so here's my theory. I think the way that it will all tie in together is Sid will sell out the Bad Batch in some way, and
Yep.
then they'll capture Omega, and then they'll go to then the Bad Batch will go to Rex and be like, "Hey, we need to save Omega."
Yep.
That's when you see all of the clones kind of rally like
Mandalorian
together.
season 2.
Yep. And they just storm the mountain, and you see like that Lord of the Rings Return of the King reference in our group chat that I was talking about, and they just charge it. They like go on in. They end up running into Crosshair. You like kind of see of what Rex kind of what happened to Rex during Order 66 of where he was trying to fight it, and maybe you see like kind of Crosshair kind of shed a tear, and he's like, I don't want to do this, and then he ends up fighting one of them. He kills one of them by accident. Well, not by accident, but like under the control of the chip.
Oh, that would hurt.
Yes,
So
yes,
bad.
yes. Yeah, and then the fight ensues from there. But I think that's how it will cross over of where Crosshair will see them again, because Omega gets captured and Sid, and she sells out the Bad Batch. I think that's the future that we're heading in. And if they don't have Sid betray the Bad Batch, I'll be surprised.
Me too.
Yeah. Is there any final predictions? Any final thoughts?
I mean, I have to say that like my internal theory is pretty similar to yours. That the end of the previous episode hinted at them wanting Omega at Mount Tantus to get Nala Se there.
Yeah.
And then however that happens, I feel like they've already hinted at Sid turning on the Bad Batch. I feel like she's gonna cue the Empire into wherever the Bad Batch is at. Bad Batch is gonna, the Empire is gonna take Omega back to Mount Tantus, like you said, and that's going to be the culmination of this season.
And this whole season we've been seeing the Bad Batch in their current life of kind of like how they've set themselves up in the world. Like it's not working great with Sid, but the Empire doesn't know they're alive. We've kind of just seen them kind of be more docile this season and just trying to make ends meet. And so having this season end with that entire world crumbling around them with, Scorch is tasked with finding out who that ship was. He's going to find the Batch. Sid and the Batch are very much at odds, and that relationship could end, in a split second, either in Sid giving them up or the Batch giving up Sid and just leaving her behind. Yeah. We have the need for Omega to be on Tantus. We have Crosshair back on Tantus.
It all is connected.
It's all starting to come together. And I'm really excited to see how the Batch reacts to this, especially how Hunter reacts to this. We've had this character who's been so devoted to only taking care of his crew, only even taking care of the Batch. Echo left because Echo wanted to help all the other clones, and Hunter was like, I'm going to help my crew. Like, my crew is who I care for. Anyone else can, do whatever they want. He doesn't really care. So I really am excited to see how Hunter reacts to how the world around him really is caving in. And I want to see how he reacts to having to care for more than just the Batch, more than just his inherent crew.
I think that, all right, I think the best way to describe of what's coming ahead is the end of season 2 of Star Wars Rebels, of where we see just the whole team kind of in shatters. You have Ahsoka where we think she's dead. You have Kanan where he's blind. You also have, the part where you think Ezra is going to turn to the dark side. Like, there's a lot happening in the group, and I think something big is going to happen at the end of the season that's going to sadly make a huge impact on the group, and it's not going to be a happy one. It's
time for a big status quo change.
Yeah,
however that comes about. And
right.
I would love to see that status quo change come at the hands of Delta Squad.
It all has led to this.
I wouldn't be. I honestly, I'll put on the record. I wouldn't be mad if a Bad Batch member died at the hand of a member
Oh
of
my,
Delta Squad.
jeez. Okay, all right. Well,
I wouldn't be mad about that. I feel like
Okay.
it fit really well.
And I know all you've been waiting for my Easter egg from Indiana Jones this episode. Well,
I was
guess what?
surprised that we haven't gotten that.
Oh, don't worry. I was just saving it for the last moment. Are you ready?
Yes.
So in the Temple of Doom, you have them. You have them go in the plane, and it crashes into the mountain, right? Like in the snow and everything. In this episode, we're also in the snow and there's mountains.
You're going to locale for your Indiana Jones reference. I got more Indiana Jones in Mando this week, I'll say. With the
Yeah.
Kali Ma like torture
Yeah.
chamber.
Yeah. Which that was the next thing I want to talk about, because I know we have all of our thoughts about that. So we can quickly talk about that, because man, this episode of The Mandalorian as well was very, very impactful for the Mandalorian people. And just like this other episode of The Bad Batch was very impactful for Crosshair. Like there was so much like world building and just everything. I loved it. Seeing the inside of the Capitol, like yes, which again we just talked about this like on the episode that we had for the Mandalorian breakdown. But seeing live action Mandalore, as sad as it looks, it was great to see it live action of just the giant of the columns and the city inside. Oh man, awesome. So cool. Can't believe that we got, Clone Wars to where we are now, because it's fantastic.
It's all coming together.
How did we feel about it? Our overall thoughts?
I loved the episode. I thought it was great. I like all the world building, like you said, seeing Mandalore in this state when we're used to it being, I don't know if you call it in its prime, but in a very well off place in the Clone Wars, and now seeing it here. I also really enjoyed seeing R5, and there's a whole bunch of droid builder things that I could talk for probably another 45 minutes about, with like behind the scenes type things. So,
could you maybe kind of minus that down into like a minute or two?
I guess it boils down to really one scene in specific. So when R4 drops out of the bottom of Din's ship and he lands, which one, I can't imagine dropping a droid like that and just having it stay on two legs. But the really, really cool thing about that I think a lot of fans take for granted just because of CG. So that's a practical droid. And he lands, he kicks his front leg out and rolls off. So that is only possible because of the droid builder community. They only had one droid ever in the filming of the movies that had the capability to go from 3 legs to 2 legs. I knew we didn't see R4 go from 2 to 3 and then back to 2 again, but presumably based on the way that motion happened, it looks like it would be possible. But in the movies, they only ever had one droid that could go from 2 legs to 3 legs, and it had some massive pneumatic actuators in there, and they actually had to hook that droid up to compressed air to get those cylinders to fire for that scene. And that R2 only did it once in A New Hope, I believe, and he was hooked up to air cylinders. And since then, technology has gotten better, and the fan community has engineered some amazing solutions to getting that internal mechanism to work. And it's super cool to see all that come to fruition. And you can see the drive wheels in that
the Omni wheels.
So you'll notice when he drops down and goes from 2 legs to 3 legs, he has a front center rubber drive wheel, not a center, but a front drive wheel on each of the side legs, and then a Omni wheel in the back, which is a certain type of robotics wheel that allows like lateral motion as well. And then you see in the later scenes that he only has a single drive wheel underneath the side foot shells. So that tells me that they're is at least 2 R4s that were on set for this.
And I love that it's just it is just a shot just to show the leg extending. Like it is.
It's
It's
just the
all
flex. It's
Yeah.
just the droid builder flex.
there.
I mean, now
100%.
they have fans doing it too. Mike Senna is a guy who's been a huge part of the droid builder community for a long time now, and now he is like the main droid dude for all these Star Wars shows that they're making in SoCal right now.
And that turns 2 minutes into an hour, and I'm just kidding. No, that was awesome. That was so cool. I could tell how you were holding all that in for like a while, and you were just like, "All right, here we go." That's so cool. Yeah, no, I loved seeing R5 again, and I love how Peli was just trying to build R5 up as like this great hero droid, and we all know he's the droid that had a bad motivator and A New Hope. So
all right, do you guys believe that the bad motivator was on purpose, and he did it because
right?
That was in a
recanonized
certain point of view book.
Yeah, it
Yes.
was in a certain point of view, which is canon.
Isn't there somewhere where it says he's force sensitive?
That's Legends when it was a
Yeah.
force sensitive droid.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing I've ever heard.
Well,
Like, I hate it, but I
from
love it.
Green Bunny Rabbit Bounty Hunter, that old Han Solo comic. But
and so something about Legends too was that I'm just thinking about something that was Legends and Canons, which I found in Obi-Wan Kenobi. But apparently, Uncle Owen was the brother of Obi-Wan Kenobi in Legends, which I didn't know that. Yeah. And this came from a fan. I vote
I'm
for more
down for
droid.
that.
Dude,
I'm 100% down.
I am so down for that.
I wish
When
I was
we
at your
get
panel.
to the scene from the trailer where they're at the droid bar,
Oh, dude,
Just-
yeah.
set me free. I'll go.
You get to do what Star couldn't do today.
yeah. We can like do some type of themed episode of where like the background is like Hunter with all of his droids, and then we just
All right.
have Hunter like just center
Just
screen up
Hunter
breaking
in
down
front
that
of, like-
entire scene of being
There's
like
a fireplace in the background, and Hunter's just like having a drink.
no, he's like, hey,
Yeah.
so droids, huh? Well,
Mhm.
guess what? This whole
Didn't
scene,
even notice you there.
crazy.
I'm having a drink with my droid here. If you'd like to learn more.
I'll be sure to hurry and get the drink tray done for S2. So at the beginning of that segment, he can bring me my drink.
Oh man,
sure, grab the drink
I
today.
am gonna make that happen, Hunter. That's
All right,
we're
down.
we're
Great.
definitely doing that.
down.
I think my favorite thing about this episode, which was very unexpected, was seeing finally a live action mythosaur. Like that was incredible. I loved. Oh my
That thing
gosh,
is huge.
And
huge!
I said it in chat, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm so happy it has a flat face for one,
Yes.
and it isn't
Yes.
like a regular dragon. Like it
Yeah.
matches the skull.
Yeah.
That's everywhere. It's great, and I love it being aquatic.
Yes.
I love being aquatic
Yeah.
for a change, rather than just being a like sort of crate dragon type thing, where
Yeah.
you know, obviously a lot of anatomic bio anatomy changes. That's the word. Besides having a bunch of different stuff like anatomy wise, like just, you know, being a desert dragon, which is kind of what it felt like in Legends, having it be this like aquatic giant flat headed beast.
It's really rad.
I can tell you right now, it's going to be crazy to see it when it actually comes out of the water and everything. I'm really hoping that we actually get to see that.
I want to know what its bottom jaw looks like.
Like that, like from what we saw of where she goes in the water and saves Din, and then she goes back up. Like that thing is massive. Like that, first off, just everything with like the mines and everything was definitely reminding me of The Hobbit in the Lonely Mountain and I would love to see the mythosaur like the size of Smaug and like of just that size, I think that would be great.
Dude, I think he's even bigger than Smaug.
Oh
I
my
think he's
gosh.
big. What sucked Din down into that plate? Like the Mythosaur
No,
so
I
big,
think
I'm sorry,
Din-
I think he
crushed
fell.
to death.
Yeah.
I think Din's just an idiot. I'm being honest with you. He's like, yes, I'm being redeemed, and just totally doesn't pay attention to anything.
And
But
he
the
just
fact that he's in an underground mine and there's a lake, like
And the fact that he just
first rule of
sunk like a
spelunking.
rock.
Yeah,
yeah. He was what like I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like
That's the second time Bo saved him from almost drowning.
yeah, but I just keep hearing from people being like, man, he's just straight up dumb. Cause he just keeps getting like he just keeps getting like hurt and like captured and he's not like winning fights and I'm just like, listen,
so
Din has a lot going on.
everything
I'm
else
just
in
saying.
this episode, like I wouldn't call him dumb for getting
Yeah.
captured by that big crab thing with the Kazdan Paratus looking dude inside.
Yeah.
No one saw that coming.
That's such a sick design.
Yeah, right. So it's like I wouldn't call that, or even him being jumped by whatever those other aliens were called. I wouldn't even call that like him being dumb. He's in this super
Yeah.
new environment, doesn't know what to expect.
Right.
But like common sense, you should look where you're walking. In
Why'd
an
you take
unknown
off your
body of water.
jetpack, man?
Well, the other thing that we talked about on a breakdown episode of this is, which I'm not seeing if you guys seen the reviews, but apparently, this is a very low rating to some different to like the higher up people. Like for example, for IGN, they give this episode a 5 out of 10 because
What?
of the lighting. Apparently the like lighting was really bad and they're like we like couldn't enjoy it because it was so dark. And I was like,
I mean, I did watch it like with all the lights off, so it was
Yeah.
like kind of a movie theater vibe, but I didn't think it was that bad.
no, I didn't think it was bad. Some people were comparing it to the big fight scene that they have in Game of Thrones, and then I was like, no, like it was not that dark. So I don't know where that was coming from. But
I think the lighting was enough to convey the atmosphere it needed to. It was a lot of ambient light. Like,
Yeah.
there was not a lot of direct source lighting, which is almost new for the show, from what I can remember.
Did they also think
it was
that?
all very like more natural with some slight ambience.
Well, did they also think there was just going to be a bunch of lanterns just turned on for like since the bombing of the city,
I don't know.
and then
I
they
will
would just
say-
walk on through? Because though, but yeah, no, I love the episode. The weird droid creature thing that threw me off. Of seeing the eye of it reminded me of a Dalek from Doctor Who, where it's not like in its armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got like General Grievous, and then also the
Yeah.
monk droids in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Just a little bit from. But I feel like so far, season 3 of Mando has felt more like a binge show format, if that makes sense. Like it very much feels like the streaming TV style of episodes, as opposed to season 1 and 2 having a very episodic, like I felt like those were like Sunday morning cartoon almost vibes of like an episode you watch every week, where it felt like you were watching almost like a small movie where it had a beginning, a middle, and end, and it had an overarching thing. Like it felt like a very classic TV show, where this feels much more almost quote unquote Netflix in its vibe. It feels very like binge worthy, where everything kind of just melds into the next, and it's not as contained as previous seasons were, but it's still a fun episode.
Yeah, I cannot wait until season. I'm not until season.
Season-
Yeah, you know what?
Season 6.
I'm just done with this season. I just can't wait to the next one. No, I can't wait until the next episode, because I think we're gonna see Bo-Katan kind of process everything.
Yeah.
And then Din was knocked out, of course, so he'll wake up and he'll be like, "What are you talking about?" Unless it comes out of the water and like tries to attack them or something.
Well, we also have Armor and Book of Boba saying like a Mythosaur Rising would be the start of a new age of Mandalore. We have also so incredibly happy that this season has ended like Din's quest in episode 2. Like I thought this was going to be a whole season of him getting
Yeah.
to the minds of Mandalore
Yeah.
and redeeming himself, just like how last season was an entire season of getting Grogu to Jedi. It felt like that was the entire season.
Yeah.
This one, we've already done that. So now we have 6 episodes of. I have some general idea, but like we don't have a predetermined large scale quest that Din's on. He's going to try and get to. So it's all going to be new. It's all going to be things we haven't seen. And I'm really excited about that.
Could you see him going back to the armorer and like him trying to show like proof, and she's like, nope, that's not technically right. You have to go do it again. And he'll be like, oh man.
In my opinion, I think it'd be really fun if Din's version of proof is him miraculously showing up on the mythosaur.
That would
Just be like,
He's
yeah,
like,
What's
hey,
up?
how's it going? Remember how last time you guys had like the combined brain power of a cabbage trying to fight off that alligator beast until I came in? I want a mythosaur now. Am I redeemed?
yeah, like and the only way to transport the mythosaur through hyperspace is the same way they do in the new Lego Star Wars game, where they have to put it in the crate behind the ship, and then it,
That's
like,
why we saw the
just
Purgle.
drives it through hyperspace.
That's why we saw the Purgle in episode 1. The Purgle are going to transport the mythosaur. in
Oh, okay,
hyperspace.
cool,
Yeah.
cool.
That's the whole.
cool.
That's the only reason that we saw.
Got it.
It's Chekhov's Purgle for transporting mythosaurs across the galaxy.
Boom. There you go. There you go. Well, yeah, no, that was definitely hype. That was amazing.
I
No,
want to see Mythosaur's bottom jaw really bad. I want to see how the jaw actually works on it. Now that we know it's like an animaton, like it matches the skull for the front face, where it just has these huge buck teeth. Like how does it? How does that work?
yeah, because it will be
Yeah,
like
like
that.
how does
yeah.
that eat anything? Or are those like straws instead of teeth? And we've been thinking
Yeah,
about it
just
wrong.
big straws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No. Oh man. I am definitely excited to see more. And again, I loved how this whole episode kind of felt like a history lesson, and we also learned about the Poketen's dad, and which we never really got a mention of. I think other Josh or Ben said that they would love to see Christopher Lloyd like in a flashback playing the dad of Satine
Yeah,
and Bo-Katan. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, no, man, I love this episode, and it makes me more excited for like the future of Star Wars, because we're also getting Ahsoka, we're also getting Skeleton Crew, we got Jedi Survivor, we have a lot going on. We have Star Wars Celebration next month, and they did announce they are doing the live stage. So they will be streaming the panels and everything. Have it, the podcast will be there. Super exciting. I'm nervous because it's like I'm more of that excited nervous because it's like, oh, it's a new country, but also it's Star
Yeah.
Wars, so it's gonna be great.
It's
Uh,
close. Like it is coming up fast.
Yeah, I'm just bummed that I'm not gonna be able to take my armor. I mean, I could take my armor. I could definitely take my TK if I wanted to, but it would just be a lot of work and a lot of money.
Yeah,
And-
I flew with my fixer armor for Celebration Anaheim, and that was
Yeah.
a hassle and a half, and
Yeah.
also just like scary.
Yeah,
Like doing like small baby repairs, like with a bottle of CA glue I bought from some like hobby shop, just like re-gluing on like the knuckle,
Yeah.
like the knob on the knuckle plate and things like that.
I took Anakin to Celebration, and Hunter knows this, but I wore my boots for 9 hours on the plane. Yeah,
Oh,
but hey, listen, that like group picture and everything that we did, totally worth it. Totally
Yes.
worth it.
I'm debating flying as Han Solo for the Halcyon, just like going into South, like going to Southwest Airlines. I'm just like already in Han.
Which version of Solo are you doing? Are you
A
doing the
Star
version
Wars
from Solo?
story.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I've wanted to do that costume since the movie came out. I was going through my phone
Yeah.
and I had like reference pictures in like 2018 or whatever. Like,
Oh, yeah.
back before I even started costuming in general. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to do it. I was doing all the references. I just never could find out how to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to do it. Everyone's dressing up fancy, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna be Han for the weekend. I'm good with that.
Fun. All right. Well, we're on Instagram. Go follow us on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod. We're also on Patreon. At Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We got some great content on there. We're on TikTok. We also have a Gmail, starstuffpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Star Stuff group, and Star Stuff podcast group. Please go on Apple Podcasts and give us a review. Go and follow our great friends. I didn't update this. I'm so sorry. J Guy Hunter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Don't. No, I'm sorry. Okay. And then cloning around. Josh, where can we find you?
You can find me at redacted because I'm not putting my address here, but on Instagram, cloning_around.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, no. Oh man. There's so much happening in the Stars universe, and we have a lot of great people in the community. Hunter and Josh and Star and just everyone that comes on here are just fun examples of that. And if you're ever interested in costumes or any of that stuff, or just want to join the 501st or anything, go and check out their social media, because they do so much, and they may not realize it, but they honestly are like fantastic, humans. Like, they're wonderful. Go and check out their stuff. From Josh, Hunter, and I, may the force be with you always.